we are discussing about innovation using three-axis approach. To set the context, it's important to understand that we are individuals as well as industries are at the crossroads. When I say crossroads, there is a lot of information. In order to have meaningful directions and make sense out of it, we need to really use our internal gyroscopes and compasses and put a lot of our mind into it to get to the right place. We will discuss the challenges and how we will handle this information explosion landscape with the three-axis approach. To look at it from the challenge point of view, we see the technology axis, which is a technology storm, which includes many foundational technologies like quantum computing, cloud, genetics, while some others, which are like AI, Internet of Things, digital twins, which could be broadly applied across the segments. It is not just enough to see the technology trends or the business trends which are happening, which includes also the business landscape changes and the business models. It is important to see it as a rate of change. When we see the rate of change, it's much faster than ever. These technologies becoming mainstream, these practices becoming mainstream are more faster than ever. And this poses a challenge to most of an industry as well as an individual. On the third axis, you will find disruptions, which is often a major change, which is abrupt and radical in nature, which could lead organizations to be obsolete in the market. We observe these changes across multiple dimensions of physical, digital, and biological. The form and the function getting distributed across in different forms, and digitalization and information technology as one key element behind all this. So on one side, we are standing as industry or as individuals in the center of this three axis, affected by the change like the Kung Fu Panda, trying to make sense but confused today, while the technology or the storms and disruption, the rate of change together, they are approaching us like a villain. And the biggest question that comes to our mind at this moment of time as industry or individual is, am I going to be disrupted? And again, these changes are not happening like in a step-by-step manner. Instead, they are coming as undercurrents and becoming pervasive across the system. So it's not very visible. While we are looking at how do we deal with the change, we look at it from an innovation perspective. When we reflect on what is innovation, it's all about invention and exploitation. It's all about the curve, creating, crafting new ideas, getting them to work, transferring the technology, commercial development, ideas or inventions to specific objectives, validating them, transferring it for success, and then getting over the chasm, which means we have to go over the diffusion curve, approach innovators, then get to early adopters, and cross the chasm by reaching the early majority, which is 34% of people. And it is a really uphill task. And we have, of course, seen from many studies that 3000 raw ideas lead to one commercial success. So, the point which Theodore Levitt once made is very important in this dimension. It's not just about proposing an idea, instead, it is about going end to end, making it realize by being together perseverance or grit, which is very important for ideas to be reality. It has obviously to be analyzed in organizational perspective, financial perspectives, risk and uncertainties and time. It's about invention and exploitation. It's all about grit. That is some of the foundation aspect. It's about the growth mindset that we are trying to talk. So when we look at it all together, from my understanding, this is how we can look at it. We are going towards an entrepreneurial society. That's what Peter Drucker told us. And he made us visualize this vehicle for creating tomorrow and charting the course of the future. This vehicle, as you see here, consists of customer on the driving seat, and understanding of environment is important, while it is the four wheels of knowledge, innovation, people and collaboration which help us navigate the course. It is often told that top-down innovation is orderly but down, whereas bottom-up innovation is chaotic but smart. So our objective is to take real advantage and make bottom-up innovation more effective as individual as well as industries. And how do we really do it? We propose the approach of handling it through a combinatorial approach of trend analysis, agile and change and makers approach which can handle disruption. Is it enough that I just do trend analysis and do nothing about it? No action. Is it how can I achieve the rate of change? How can I achieve to be staying with the disruptive practitioners, the startups, and how can I compete with them and still succeed or sustain? These are all major questions we might have. This is what we are trying to explain in the next slides. So agility, is it just about speed? So we look back at cheetah, the fastest animal on the planet. The key skill they have is agility, which is about leaping sideways, changing directions, slowing down quickly. So obviously this study clearly points out that it's not just about speed. If we look at humans, Usain Bolt, the fastest man on earth, and the sprinters you study, it's very clear they can only attain high speeds in short bursts. So that's the principles we want to be clear about. That's agile is about this multi-dimensional approach. Maintaining a growth mindset, able to change course faster and in the direction of where the customers go. So that is the typical approach that we will see across the board with many of the poster boys of agile. On the left side you see Spotify and Netflix, more software organizations in one sense. Tesla and SpaceX, more systems organizations, but with agility again. So they are mainly looking at customer focus as a driving point, and ability to organize let a network and organizing themselves as small squads or teams, which is equivalent to the way the commandos organize in military organizations. Are they are my customers happy is one of the still the biggest question. Are we building the right thing? Are my teams engaged? Do they understand the business? This question of understanding a business becomes much more significantly important as we go because agility is the best effort to adapt to changes and adapting to changes particularly in the direction of what the business needs or the society needs is the most important. Okay, let us look at leadership because we should have the right leadership and the growth mindset to support these changes. And when we see on one side we see Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, who talks about learn it all does better than know it all. So it's about learning on the go. And Richard Branson, who talks about failure. You have to trust people around you to learn from their mistakes. That's a very strong and important statement you need to understand. And they all lead by storytelling, vision, role modeling, which are the leadership tools which are really important for the era. So the age of agile talks about leadership tools and inspiration as a driving force with a kind of creating a pull towards where we want to go, in the direction of where we want to go. And this culture not only for leaders as part of self-leadership, each of us need to cultivate the same kind of culture and support others who are bringing, who are trying to change, take changes forward. When we look at another personality here, an agile leadership example, E. Sridharan, man of Indian Railways. One of the many important feats he has achieved is the reconstruction of the Pamban Bridge in Rameshwaram. The railway set a target for 6 months, which looked impossible in the beginning. He could achieve it within 46 days. Again, one interesting aspect we should see here is the fact that speed is one of the main key aspects which is often reported in as part of agility. But behind this agile landscape is a lot of different approaches which he took. He took the support of fishermen to identify the structures of the older bridge which were lying around in the seabed, and he took the support of the Kalasis or the people who are adept at bringing bigger structures or very heavy structures from underneath. He also took the support of the nearby railway workshops to bring in the kind of support system or the tools, big tools which were required to support the people to get it faster from the seabed and get the job done faster. So it is about combining all our resources and skills to create success, not just one. So as this leadership, we have to make sense out of the knowledge explosion which is happening around. That's where the kind of trend understanding and trend analysis is a tool most of the leaders employ, and maybe it's more relevant for every one of us today. Like Sherlock Holmes talks in Scandal of Bohemia, he asks his friend Dr. Watson, "You have seen the steps which led to the hall. How many are there?" Watson doesn't know. He says, "Now I know there are 17 steps because I have both seen and observed." It's a matter of seeing and observing, being eternally curious, being observant, identifying the pool of data that you are going to observe, select the data, meaning, affix meanings to it, prepare assumptions out of it, drawing conclusions from our assumptions, adopt the beliefs, take actions based on beliefs, creating this inference chain. And again, this becomes again feeds back to the pool of observable data, and this continuous process of inferencing and insight creation, which most of the leaders do, is something to be democratized and need to be followed by most individuals today as we embrace ourselves to the new world. And it's important, this capability of insight is something that will keep us ahead of the technology or the machines which are coming in the scenario. And the ability to create from observation to lead to actions is something amazing capability of us humans. So how do we do it? So it's about change that we are talking about here. Then we are talking about other reports like there are many multiple reports like MIT Technology Review, McKinsey reports, Gartner reports, ARC review, non-obvious company trend reports, IEEE reports, which are technology reports, conference keynotes. Many of these needs to be curated into a form what we want to achieve in our organization of us individuals. This needs to be gathered, aggregated, elevated, and the need to be named and put in the context of a sunshine chart like this, as you see here, where we put it across the board with respect to short-term goals, what we want to achieve, medium-term and long-term, and how in this short-term and medium and long-term these trends would have an impact. It is also important to understand the technology maturity to put it in the right place, because if the technology is still maturing, maybe we don't want it to be imbibed in the immediate term. So the capturing trends in our landscape plays a very important role, and I think we will address one of the major approaches like three-layer product model, which can allow us to put these trends into a layered approach as well. So a journey of a leader, the input to a curve for individual comes from Aidan McClellan, host of an innovation show and lecturer at Trinity College Dublin. So one of the main aspects, as you see here, is the kind of journey we have seen in Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He was the chief designer hovercraft in 1962 ISRO, director of DRDL 1982, scientific advisor to defense minister. So each of these phases we can see the breadth and depth he is growing in terms of the insight generation. So the insight generation is a continuous exercise, as we see here, as he grows into principal scientific advisor to the government of India. It is the entire governmental structure and scientific community which is important for you. And then as professor of Anna University and president of India, he again scaled new heights with new understanding of governance and how everything works. So this is the kind of S-curve we should all probably look forward towards as individuals. Continuous reinvention journey, which is significantly important in today's world. If we don't follow this curve, we could become obsolete, both as individuals as well as industries. So we have already discussed about agility and trend analysis, and then we are looking at the invention revolution. So if we have to really work with all this and make it executable, we really need an action point, and that is the maker revolution we would talk about. Chris Anderson talks about it as when web generation turns to the real world in his book Maker Revolution. It is important to understand what it symbolizes. It is about 3D printer kind of symbolizes the industrial capability in the hands of everyone. So we can today create do-it-yourself products and designs at the comfort of our homes, and the culture share these designs and collaborate with other online communities and provide it to the commercial manufacturer to be produced in numbers. This is a edge or a significant capability which would enhance our maker capability. But then, is it just about these capabilities what we are talking about in maker revolution? So maker revolution is also something we have obviously not delved in detail. It is kind of a machine which needs support of an academic brilliance or the research, which is often, if you look at Silicon Valley, it is it has Stanford University as its base, you can say, and Cupertino, the Apple's development centers, Google, HP's Homebrew Computer Club, which has given support for several intellectuals like Steve Jobs or Steve Wozniak to be into the tinkering revolution, which we are talking about as maker revolution as well today. Several big companies which also combine the capabilities of innovation inside themselves as smaller teams, smaller and support for those smaller teams. And then we are talking about open source electronics, paving the way to great future and including open source in the areas of drones, do-it-yourself drones, open AI, and GitHub being a hub of a lot of open source software. We have obviously seen in the recent times, the COVID times, these translate into more serious play, like the MIT low cost ventilator project, which is kind of triggering our understanding that this maker revolution is going to enhance the society with a more democratized approach to making and communities, which would also deliver to the societal needs, not just to commercial needs. So that is where we are kind of summarizing the three axes. And here you see our Kung Fu Panda is rather happy and ready for taking over the challenge. So that is where we have to really look at it from trend analysis, agility and growth and makers. Combine the strengths across and make a broader and as well as a deeper sense with the combinational approach to make sense for the 21st century skills aligned to the 21st century skills which combine art, science and technology, which is the capability, unique capability of humans, and we transcend these storms by being in its eye. Uh, Putting it all together, we just go into technology predictions. Some of these predictions like quantum computing, precision health, personalized medicine has impact across the board, additive manufacturing, whereas some of the others like artificial intelligence on the edge, digital twins, AML and cybersecurity can be seen as trends which can be having an impact across areas but more applied as a concern, as an experimentation approach, and non-volatile memory products again something on the foundation. So we have to categorize them as foundation in nature to be able to understand the repercussions and go forward. So we are looking at how we should place it in our landscape. So that is where the three-layer product model comes to our help. This approach suggested by Ian Bush talks about putting it in three layers: commodity layer, differentiating layer, and innovation and experimentation layer. That is where again when we say commoditized functionality, as we go continuously we are seeing some functionality becomes common and it is moving into commoditization. So this is where more the platform approach comes to the picture, whereas in the differentiating functionality layer we are talking about differentiating for the market, differentiating aspects for the industry, and then we are talking about innovation and experimentation layer, more approaches like digital twin, cyber physical system, which would enhance our capability. But where we are talking, so we are looking at, this is one example of power systems in this model where we have put many of the older concerns which were now commoditized in the commoditized layer, and we see the differentiating functionality like big data, connectivity, sensing and other capabilities in the different, and cyber physical systems playing a role in the innovation layer. The capturing trends in our model is not just once, it is a continuous activity which we have to do. And this three-layer product model serves as a very simple picture which everybody, most of the organization stakeholders understand and can relate to. When we are talking about other aspect of human intelligence, it's about also empathy. We have been conventionally looking at people as roles like operators, engineers, and things like that. Currently, we need to start looking at people like Barbara or Anil because it is at the people level that the innovation makes sense and the unmet needs are very important in this landscape. So, if, in order to understand the people better, we have to really understand their journeys, the pains and gains they are going through, the value that they would look forward to. So, that is where we have to create the journey descriptions. Customer journeys playing a very important role in today's world with design thinking kind of an approaches. Identify the latent needs, not just the satisfaction, instead the delighting needs, and then bring a win-win experience which is also financially viable, which is important part of the game. So this is again combining the capabilities and putting it all together is again playing a role as a lean startup, and more deeper understanding of people is the whole approach. Observation of people plays a very important role. Many a time we have seen the phase where we are talking about data, but when we are talking about data we are saying we don't have the data, but instead as organization we are always having some kind of data like the test results, the user experience logs, the user interviews, the experience logs, feedback, the inspection results, and several lot of understanding. So we can obviously be taking advantage of this data, and if we have logs in collected from customers like including capabilities like digital twins or continuous deploy approaches, we have lot more data which can from which we can make our process much more leaner and make sense of the market what we are talking about and make sense for the customer. So it is a continuous process of visualizing, identifying the relations, recommending new experiences, and being like an agile startup. Uh, as we cross over with continuous deployment, the approach is more closer to the customer, and it needs to be understood that it is we are getting to know our customers or the user's heartbeat, which kind of helps us continuously evolve the user understanding and the heartbeat. And this heartbeat is significantly important. That is where DevOps or the approaches behind continuous deployment would play a significant role. And we actually have the data, and it is more about exploiting what we have internally or internal operations as well as external operations. That is important to be understood. So one example when we are looking at when we say what areas could be interesting, we just look at one blackout which happened in India in 2012, which left 700 people without electricity, and it took some time for the system to identify where it went wrong from the event logs. So this is one from the five regional centers to the national or center, and going through the logs to understand where it happens. This is the kind of perspective we are talking about data in terms of big amounts of data, and where we could make sense. The event logs are across there, so we are actually seeing the capability of data analytics being playing a big role in diagnostics, and eventually moving to resilience and prediction. So there we obviously see how data getting used is could be operational, non-operational, and combining this knowledge in terms of basic statistical approaches in the beginning, patient belief networks, more deterministic approaches, moving to deep learning. Obviously, these when we are talking about industrial systems, there is a need for more explainable and dependable data. So at least we who are researchers who are looking at problems statements, we can look at this diagnostics, resilience, and prediction are gold mines of challenges which are often not resolved, and data can help us with these challenges, and we have to really look at how we can improve these systems as well as we go. So today we are at a Very good point of time. We have a great ecosystem around in India as well as elsewhere. Everybody is spearheading the innovation revolution, entrepreneurship seen as a social need, and it could also help us become, because small and medium enterprises are the fuel for most economies. So we are seeing trends where villages are the central to India and many countries, and trends of COVID also triggering kind of thinking around why don't we work from our home or closer to the towns we have been, instead of um, I mean, becoming turning out creating lot of people in the cities and with a global mindset, building teams, earning trust, product mindset, which is more short term, balancing short term and long term, becoming part of and lifelong learning part of game. So we are also seeing an ecosystem where governments are playing a very big role. Digital India, India Stack Data Making in India playing a role, adult innovation missions, and then many startups like AI, vernacular AI, cognitive AI stand in the area of genomics, Navy in the area of digital twins, other playing very big interesting roles in the niche areas as well as digital ecosystems. And then innovation ecosystem emerging with IEEE India Innovation growth programs, Smart India Hackathon, NASCOM, a lot of game players here. We really are seeing a very supportive system and mentors around. We are really standing on the shoulders of the giant, and it is time we pursue the mission that Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam has been passionate about, making Vision 2020 into a reality. He used to talk about ignited minds of the youth as the most powerful resource on the earth, above the earth, and under the earth. Thank you for the kind attention. This is relevant probably for most countries and individuals and industries per se. And let us make a better world. Thank you.